Qilo Tactical with what is it? Multicam Tropic? Is that what we're doing here? Yeah, it's just one of one. God damn it.
All right, Mountain Daddy.
Can I kick it?
Yes, you can.
How am I looking today?
Beautiful.
Did you see, what do you want to start with? Tell me what you want to start with. I'll tell you what's up. First of all, this sweet-ass shirt that one of our customers sent us.
Yep.
They tie-dyed that stuff up for me. It is perfect tropic camo itself. Well, we'll call it African summer camo I will be wearing this week.
Okay.
Yeah. How about this shirt?
I like it.
You ever seen one like this?
Not like that one.
You know why?
No, I don't.
It's one of one.
Is it?
It is.
How do you know that?
Because my buddy Mike, Tactical Qilo over here.
Tactical Qilo, huh?
From Qilo Tactical. Brought it for me. One of one. What is this? Is one of one.
Yeah, that's right. That was the first sample we made.
It feels so good inside. What is this material? This stuff right here.
That's a micro fleece, and it's similar to a velour, but a little softer and a little lighter.
You have that velour jumpsuit I saw you in the video too.
You know what I would name this material if it were up to me, based on how it feels and looks? Buttery titties.
Oh.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay.
If you want to take it, you can. You can have that one. Also, what this is? Wait, convertible pouch.
Right.
Is it the micro convertible pouch or just the convertible pouch?
Just the convertible.
Because it's really small.
Yeah.
And this is Rhodesian. So I'm wearing my camo. This is not Rhodesian.
That is
That's
Rhodesian.
Rhodesian. Brushstroke,
Rhodesian.
yeah.
This thing is so small. Like this could be your this could go in your prison wallet. It's so small.
Up the old hoop.
But look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
Well, you got the gap
Keeps
so you
my
don't
gap
get
so
got.
I don't get got.
Woo, perfect. Right in the center. That's
There
perfect.
you go. So look at that. And I still have like chapstick and my car keys
Treasure map.
and vape in there.
Oh, you got your vape in there?
Yeah.
Nice.
Mike, thank you for coming up, buddy.
Man, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why? Because you got a buzz going?
Huh?
Why? Because you got a buzz going already?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
You doing okay?
I'm doing great.
Whew, man, it feels, it's getting hot. We're going to crack a window because I ain't taking this off. Man, I appreciate the gift. I feel like I look good. Do I look good
You
today?
do look good.
I look good. I feel like I
You
look
may
good
confuse
today.
some people out in public with the shorts and the flip-flops, but I
Hey.
think you look good.
Hey, like Sean Hannity, nobody knows what I'm wearing under here, all right?
That's right.
Yeah, so I got slacks on under there. You don't know.
That's true. I did see
Or I have on that new stuff, the new.
the new.
The Wolverine Red Dawn what is this camo? Wolverine Red Dawn?
Yeah, so yesterday we dropped slings in frog skin, like World War II Marine Corps frog skin.
I like that.
That's
I know
my
that one.
favorite.
I like that
That's
one.
my favorite.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites too. And in the original 1984 film Red Dawn, they created a camo that was similar to the Russian camo at the time called Berezka.
Oh, is
or
that why they did it?
KLMK.
Because they couldn't get Russian camo, but they were fighting the Russians?
That's my assumption, is that they couldn't get the real Russian camo. So they designed one that looks similar, but it uses 3 colors instead of the Russian, which only has 2 colors.
Yeah.
So we
The
found
Russians,
a source.
They don't have a lot of money.
Right.
On a
Budget only 2
Yeah,
colors.
That's right.
So yeah, we made some slings out of that, and people seem to really like the film and really like the camo.
Yeah, I think that film has become popular.
Yeah,
again.
they did a bunch of like that corner cutting too. There's a couple scenes like when they're running dishkas, it's actually M60s with just it looks like a cardboard donut on the front of it. So like they're mounted, so you see like Patrick Swayze shooting a dishka, and if you pause it, it's an M60. So they just did a little. They had to use what they could, I guess.
Yeah.
Because of the import.
It is. I tell you, I've worked on a couple things with movies over the years, and it'll ruin it for you. There's so much fake stuff that it's just like, oh man, you never look at it the same way again. So I don't know. I like to embrace my willing suspension of disbelief. I just pretend it's all real, like Star Wars, the Dishkas, you name it. It's all legit. I just wasn't there.
Yep.
Okay. Well, man, Qilo Tactical. How in the hell did you get started? What is Qilo Tactical? How'd you get started? And what's up with all these trendy companies making all this cool shit?
Yeah, well, I started Qilo Tactical about a year ago, just like a little over a year ago as an Instagram account.
And that's Qilo Tactical, Qilo Tactical.
That's right.
All one word. That's your Instagram account, right?
Yep.
Right here.
Yeah, so I started Qilo NYC 7 years ago, and we were just a menswear, streetwear brand. And I personally always had an interest in camos and military history and really just history in general. I've always been passionate about that stuff. And I just had this idea in the fall of 2018 for that season to create a multicam collection where we came out with multicam bombers and parkas and matching hats. And especially the multicam black bomber jacket and parka were a big hit for us. And
that's just the original streetwear brand,
right,
Qilo.
Right. And that was
Qilo NYC.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it did okay with our current audience, but we found that there was this niche, this community online that really liked it, and that was the 2A/tactical community. We finally were able to give them something that represents a pattern that they like or that they would use, but it's still something they could wear out in public and isn't like super tactical with zippers everywhere. It was something you could wear casually.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really like a plan where I sat down and sketched out this 5-year, 2-year plan, or we're going to start a new division. It was on a whim. I just had an idea in January of last year to, what if I just started an Instagram, a new Instagram called Qilo Tactical, and called up my co-founder and ran it by him. He was like, yeah, go for it. And that day I just did it. And a few months in, I realized, wait, this is, people are really liking this. And not only that, but I'm really enjoying the nature of this work a lot more because it speaks more to my personal interests.
Well, and being a creative guy, it's like a new set of problems to solve and things to come up with.
Yeah.
I could say, well, okay, Jay, so you're a real whore for all this stuff. When did you discover Qilo Tactical?
Colin actually showed me Qilo stuff about a year, I think right from the beginning. He sent me one of the hats with the little pineapples on it. As an example, but he had talked about Qilo before, so I think probably I hadn't heard of Qilo NYC. I think I started at Qilo Tactical, about a year ago, and have just been following since then. And then obviously saw all the different collaborations you've done with other companies that I was fans of. So
yeah, all that's interesting
right
to me. I guess this is one of those, right?
The one that went into production with the Rhodesian
camo. Not the one that Jay didn't get.
Right. That's right.
Crash our drone. That's what
I know.
Yeah. So it was a warm fuzzy collab.
Yeah.
But you didn't call it the warm fuzzy.
Right. I mean, when I was looking at this concept, I just thought, like warm fuzzy, it's in their name. This would be a perfect piece for them because it is warmer and fuzzier than, any jacket we've made or any jacket we've seen. So I pitched it by him and he was like, yeah. And we just went back and forth on different patterns, different palettes, and I'm really glad that people liked it because it's not a style of jacket that you see out there much. It can go either way.
Yeah.
But it was a successful job.
I'm going to lean it a little more casual. It's just my style. Jay.
That's true.
What? Oh, okay. So then I have some questions. So you came up with the concept, you approach him, and did you know him before that?
We had done one collaboration last summer already. We had done some shorts. Together. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd that go?
It went really well. That was our biggest drop at the time.
How long did it take to sell out?
Oh, all of the main size, like medium and large, was out within 5 minutes, like 4 or 5 minutes. And I think within 10, 12 minutes, everything was gone. And that was our highest unit drop at the time.
Man, that's so awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, I was going to say that the public genuinely, like I know you just said you're glad to see that people liked at least the Sherp, but everything that you guys have, at least every time any of us go look to try to grab it, if we don't have an alarm on, we're not going to get it. It sells out.
Well, sometimes it's nice when things work out, Jay.
Sometimes.
And you don't know. It's like having faith. So I tried to buy the production one, sold out. You tell me how long it sold out. I feel like I was like 3 minutes in and bam, gone. End up getting the one of one with the tropic camo because the production one had what, Rhodesian on it?
Right.
See, I'd be too matchy.
That's true. You would be too matchy.
Yeah. Now
you're a little clashy, but it's all right. That's cool. It's 2021.
So jealousy is the color olive drab.
Yeah, this is Arc'teryx. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Yeah, it's very
I
expensive.
mean, I think it was cool in the 90s.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when your dad was in his prime. Was that his? Was that your dad's?
No, it was not my dad's.
Okay. So, yeah, how long did it take to sell out of these things? The production one's not the one of one, obviously.
I think that was gone in an hour, but again, I wasn't keeping a close eye on different sizes. So certain sizes were probably out within minutes, but we just got hit with a big snowstorm that day. So I was out with my my girl and her like 8-year-old sister sledding. I didn't even look at my phone. Looked at it an hour later. All right, guess it's gone. People
What a
liked
good
it.
day.
The good life.
Got some sledding in.
Let me go
sold
sledding
out,
with my girl.
Sold out on the drop. What a good day.
So you start out. What was your first product with Qilo Tactical?
Well, for Qilo Tactical, I think we started actually with shorts. That May,
shorts.
we did Oscam Desert Shorts, which is a pretty niche pattern, and people liked it. It's a weird pattern, has purple in it, and people often call Oscam penis cam because it looks like there's dicks in the pattern.
Yeah.
But
Sounds awesome.
Oscam Desert's particularly funny because there's purple dicks in it. So
I don't find that funny at all.
But, since we started right before the whole COVID thing, masks were also one of our first drops.
Really?
And so, yeah, we did the Tiger and we did Multicam Black.
Yeah.
But after just 1 or 2 drops, I was like, you know what? I don't even want to make any more masks.
Yeah.
Because I was just so sick of wearing masks.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
forget
That
it.
would aggravate me too. I could see that.
Yeah.
So the shorts. Yeah, man, that's bold. Like shorts. But you come from fashion. You're dealing with all the clothes and the size bullshit constantly anyway.
Right.
Huh. Well, let me ask you this. How do you think that the 2A community found your Qilo NYC bomber jacket? Like, how'd this happen? Like, is it just, Famous Jay is on IG with it on and bam, you sell out of all of them? What happened?
Well, I definitely have to shout out a few pages that really helped me there.
Yeah?
So it was an experiment. We came out with this jacket, and I felt like, I wonder how this particular community would respond to it. And there were 2 pages on Instagram that I'd reached out to, and I was like, hey, let me just send you some stuff, and if you like it, post about it. And that was Gear Whores Anonymous and Multicam Black Gang.
Yep.
And they both posted it
Both sound cool.
on Black Friday weekend. And so I was just chilling at a friend's party that Saturday.
You do a lot of chilling and shit, man.
Yeah, professional chilling.
Sledding, chilling, eating chicken salad at the club.
So I'm at this party and I just see all these orders coming in out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, something happened, right? I go on Instagram and I saw that they had posted, and not only that, but those people had come to our page and seen our coupon code. So we were selling jackets at a rate that we had never seen before. And this made me really happy because this particular concept was my concept. And I wasn't the only designer on the team. This
Yeah.
was my sort of like, hey, trust me, I think the camos are going to do well. I think people are going to like multicam. And this was a proof of that concept that it worked out. So those pages got the sort of first interest from this community on our products.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you, I'm so excited to see guys like yourself and that our stupid industry has grown enough to open up to accept it. My opinion, which is worth shit, like 20 years ago, you would not have been successful in it. Now it's like great fucking timing. And I love that things are becoming, I mean, you do a good mix, like the stuff that is actually tactical. Like I can convert this and put it on my little carrier and have a little pouch, which I always need because you always need some stuff that isn't properly arranged in a carrier anyway. But that you're able to bring an element of style and fashion and quality. Oh my God, when you and I were in Texas and you were showing me your jacket and I noticed the stitching and the buttons and a lot of attention to detail and the quality of stuff that you're doing. I love it. I mean, even the different materials. Like when I put this on, the first thing I noticed, like it felt so good putting it on. Like the most expensive, like wonderful robe, which I don't know if many people dudes own robes. Like I actually do, but I always when I end up a couple times a year staying at some fancy hotel, I put the robe on.
Yeah,
Feels great.
I was gonna ask, Kevin kind of covered it, and you both did, but I was gonna ask how you were received, or how you thought you were received coming into, like he was saying, like this industry, which is not the most inclusive industry. It's kind of a lot of people at each other's throats, but from the numbers or like seeing your following and everything, it seems like you were received well, and I've never heard anything negative about Qilo in any regard. So I was curious to see if that was something you were kind of worried about, or if it just never even crossed your mind.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it crossed my mind much because we've just been really grateful for the response that it's gotten, and our goal from the beginning has been to make things that are different, things that someone can't get elsewhere.
Well, then you're always going to get criticism for that, and I think with fashion, it's more expected probably from an outside perspective. But man, our industry is just so full of dudes that think they're tactical with sticks up their asses and critical of everything, and I love it. And it makes it, for me, it makes it easy, like not being afraid of being adversarial and shit, to get them to do my marketing for me.
The brand is not for everyone, and that's okay. I mean, sometimes people aren't feeling. I'm like, look,
Amen.
If it's not for you, it's not for you. But we embrace the occasional failure. I mean, the way we learned everything is through failure. I mean, you mentioned fabrics and stitching and buttons. The way we came up in the fashion world was just going to these trade shows in Vegas twice a year. We would do Magic, Project, Liberty Fairs, Agenda, those kind of things. And our first season, we just had some accessories and not much of an apparel collection. But you walk the show, you go around, you feel things, you feel fabrics, you study the styles, what are the trends of the year, and you're just trying to elevate from there. And one thing that I really think that it's been fun and unique for us to bring to the table in this community is an element of cut and sew that other brands don't really have. There's a lot of great brands out there doing graphic tees, graphic hoodies.
Yeah.
And so we actually stay away from that. We're not as interested in competing with a lot of other awesome companies on those categories. And then you have the brands that are super tactical and, practical application. Arc'teryx does a great job. Audi Gear, who's also... They're actually Audis from the town next to us in New Jersey.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I've had lunch with Todd a few times. But, their stuff is super for, tactical application.
Great technical stuff.
Our philosophy at the end of the day is, we're just inspired by history and camo and patterns and this kind of things. But at the end of the day, I grew up shopping for Stussy, for the Hundreds, for Supreme. And, nowadays, the kind of things I look for are maybe a little bit more elevated. I'll go and shop for Saturdays or, just contemporary brands.
Yeah.
Every product we make, even if it's that convertible that you're wearing, we would want it to be able to be sold in a high-end menswear store. And so, that you see that with the Sherp, you see it with our, chore coats, outerwear, shorts.
Yeah.
We still would want it to be able to sit in a high-end menswear store.
I just love and appreciate the perspective. And I think it's possible, probably in a large degree because you don't come from our industry. Just having a different, more creative perspective and, different desire for your product.
Right.
Yeah, wanting it to be high end. I love it.
Was Qilo NYC, was that kind of your first endeavor or your first jump into fashion, or did you have any sort of, growing up, did you have any little products or try to start a little streetwear brand here or there or whatever, or was it just you jumped right in?
Yeah, Qilo was the first, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it started off super grassroots. It was just me and my buddy. We were at college, and we had some hats, and we were just selling it to friends and family. And we had these girls, these interns called the Qilo girls, and their job was just to look cute and go to parties and just promote it just by looking cute.
Smart.
And it went from that to doing our first trade show in 2016, which was our first big risk.
That's when Q started.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, 2016.
Nice.
Qilo with a Q. Coincidence? I don't know.
Yeah.
Q incidents.
Oh.
So, yeah, we put $6,600 down for a booth at one of those trade shows in Vegas. And it wasn't till the next season that we learned that you can actually negotiate that pricing.
Oh, yeah.
We must have paid $3,500 the next season, but that first season we were just $6,600. All right, here's the money. And we were scared, because there's no guarantee you're going to make a single dollar back. You get a booth, and these buyers go to the trade shows, and you hope that you can just kind of pull one of them in and that they'll place an order. But
Well, how'd you do the first year then?
so that first season, on the first day, this dude from Hawaii came in and he placed a $600 purchase order. You know, you mentioned our pineapple logo. That was the collection at the time. So he saw the pineapple and that was it. But that $600 purchase order, 2 years later, we did 25 grand with them just in one store in Hawaii. And we were picked up by a Canadian department store called Simon's, that very first show. And the next season, we got into Urban Outfitters and Saks Fifth Ave.
Really? Urban Outfitters?
Yep.
I like that even better than Saks, but I understand from fashion perspective. Saks is kind of fancy.
Right. But that was one of those deceptive moments, actually, where, you know, sometimes you hear the question, like, what was the moment that you thought you made it? And definitely when we got that Urban Outfitters purchase order, I was like, you know, yeah, we made it, right? Mm. And at the time, we were very happy. But what we then learned was these guys have like 70 pages of regulations of you have to, you know, tag the product here and bag it this way and tag it this way.
I've turned down at Advanced Armament and at Q distributors because they want us to do that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, no thanks.
Right. Right. They write it into their contracts in a way that if you mislabel one thing, like you put the box label on the wrong corner of the box, it's a chargeback. Mm-hmm. They find ways to just, you know, charge back on every little thing that you do wrong.
I avoid it all now. I don't deal with any of that chargeback stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it's just not worth my time.
That's crazy. It's cool that you kind of went for it and it worked out. I mean, because we hear so many stories about I did this and failed, I did this and failed, I did this and failed, and I learned my lessons all the way, and then I got into something, but just, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't just luck. It's obviously the ingenuity, the ideas and everything, and I'm sure work ethic, but that first kind of jump in, you did it the right way.
It's scary. The jump in, I mean, from my perspective, scary, but the hard work is when you have the first unexpected failure and you start questioning everything. And it's like, oh my God, we're idiots. This is never going to work. I'm a fraud. Like, just whatever, like the self-doubt. And then, like, fuck, I really want to do this, and working through it. Like, it's...
For sure. I mean, the first purchase order we got from the Canadian department store, we didn't even know what a cancel date was on the PO. So we still didn't ship the purchase order yet until, you know, it was past the cancel date on the PO, and our buyer reached out to us and she was like, "Where's the order?" And we thought cancel date meant something different. So we're just like, "Oh yeah, it's past the date that you can cancel it." So
are you still in dealing with Saks and with Urban Outfitters?
No. And that's the thing. That's why I was like, you know, at the time we thought it was this, you know, awesome peak that we had finally found, you know, our rhythm, so to speak. But what I learned very quickly was they don't put you in the stores right away. They test you online. Oh. And it's hard to stand out in an online store of that size. So you're pitted against hundreds, maybe even thousands of other brands.
Yeah.
Saks actually did put us in their stores. So it actually did reasonably well there, and they submitted another purchase order with us. We got a few more purchase orders from Urban Outfitters, but pretty soon it became evident to us that their POs weren't even bigger than the best performing mom and pop brick and mortars. And ironically, there was this store in Saudi Arabia that was placing the biggest purchase. It was one store in Saudi Arabia was sending like purchase orders for like
a lot of money in oil.
Yeah, $9,000 per PO, and they'd place multiple of those a season.
Wow.
And you know, my dad was telling me, he was like, "Man, never thought I'd like the Saudis so much." No.
So recently, did you say that? I guess following wise, I'm not sure monetary or whatever, but has Qilo Tactical kind of surpassed what Qilo NYC was doing, or is it just on the follower basis, like just exposure?
Yeah, on all fronts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's been really cool to see a year in.
Right.
That is interesting. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, then I want to ask. Well, it also goes to what I'm always talking about, how much. Yeah, the 2A community has grown. I mean, when we think about, you know, there are 10 times as many silencers in commercial hands now than 10 years ago. And that's just one little niche of it. But you have so much more opportunity there. I want to ask you this, talking about, you know, the pain in the ass from my standpoint, it's kind of like, a big box or a big distributor where they have all those regulations, and you find your groove with the mom and pops. Is you think that part of the success with Qilo Tactical compared to the other brand is like you just put it online, you sell it all directly to consumers? Is direct concept like Amazon or whatever, is that a part of this? Do you like that better?
100%. 100%, because even the idea of getting into stores, the wholesale model, the idea is that Urban Outfitters followers, their customers would find you and then directly buy from you. I mean, that's still the idea behind getting into stores, is that their customers like your brand and become a follower of your brand. And with Qilo Tactical, we definitely were able to just nail down concepts that really appeal directly to a consumer or to a niche. Yeah. And direct to consumer, so much better, so much more fun. But definitely dealing with mom and pop stores is easier than with the big box retailers.
Yeah, and staying connected, you can be more agile in a company your size. Because, I hate the stuff. For instance, after Advanced Armament, and I went to work at SIG, and we came up with a silencer division and all that, and it shocked me when I had to have pricing meetings. Because I had those before when I owned the company, and it was very simple. No shit, at SIG, this is one of the Q silencers, but let's say it's a SIG silencer. 18 different prices. 18. That's not even an exaggeration. 18. And I was just like, I'm out. Like, you guys do whatever the fuck you got to do. Like, I can't reconcile with that in any way. Like, why in the world we have 18 different prices? We're at a point now, too. We have such a back order. And I think probably like you, through social media, we're able to easily reach people. Like, how does it make sense for me to continue to deal with distributors like that old model? We're probably one of the last industries that's really run the way it was in the 50s, where we have distributors, they place big orders, they get them, and all they do, because our stuff stays on back order and sold out, it doesn't even go off their dock. They just forward it to a mom and pop shop, who I would probably prefer to deal with anyway. But so I'm giving away millions of dollars a year to the distributor to receive it and put another label on it and ship it to a dealer. So it's like, who am I really servicing there?
Right.
And I would prefer to stay more engaged with the retailer. Man, Adam's going to hate to hear this part of the podcast. But, and Adam gets to make the decisions. But for me, every year that goes by, like we initially, when we started Q, nobody knew who we were. No one knew the product. So it makes sense to get in with the distributors because they could get product to all these retailers that we probably couldn't reach. They can educate the retailers on us. And that probably happens some, but I think social media and stuff like that probably help more than getting thousands of guns and stuff out there in the market. And you create, a good quality brand that there's a demand for. And, our demand was really created from a pull, not from distributors pushing our product. And we did it through our own internal marketing and by developing the best product. So, I wrestle with that constantly. Like, when I see pallets of guns going to a distributor, this is me being the owner. I sit there and count the boxes, quickly. I'm like, oh God, that's $300,000. Okay, that's me giving, the owner of RSR a new Cadillac Escalade. That's what I just did.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that helping my customer? Like, what is the distributor providing for us? But I kind of think the same way as what you're saying. You have to deal with all the regulations and stuff of dealing with a distributor. And for instance, RSR has been a great distributor. They're easy to work with. They pay their bills. But is it the best thing for who, I'm most concerned with who is our customer? The guy who's buying our product and using it at the range. Just like you dealing with brick and mortar. You get to deal with the people there. They get to push product and educate people, and they have a customer base already that come in that are expecting that type of quality and design, and you get to interface with them kind of in a more direct way.
You and I both sell physical products.
Yeah.
And the thing with physical products is it's great and all if someone goes on our website and likes it and buys it. But at the end of the day, it's also an experience for people to go to a store and discover our products by touching it and holding it and feeling it. And, there is some value in that. I definitely would say that there is some value in the discovery process from people that have not, that are not acquainted with our brands walking in a store and seeing it and just becoming educated on it by the owner of the store.
And for me, like you said, the touch and the feel, because there's a lot of products that kind of look like the Honey Badger, but when you pick it up and it's 1.5 pounds lighter than other products, or the fix, the ergonomics of that gun, our little bolt gun, it just feels so right compared to a lot of other guns. And it's something that you can't really convey without someone actually holding it and shooting it.
100%. And that's what I experienced actually meeting you in Texas, getting to hold your guns. But just to, wrap up some of my thoughts on that previous section is just, it's so heavily based on relationship. I'll just work with the stores that I like the guys, essentially. That, like, we've established a relationship over the years. We meet in Vegas. We go to dinner, shoot the breeze. And when the COVID lockdowns happened, like last year, a lot of the bigger brands out there in streetwear, like, I actually don't even want to name names, but, like the big influential brands, they had to lay off their salespeople. They had to lay off a bunch of people working for them.
That's what happens with the big companies in general. I mean, we went through it at SIG.
Yeah.
I was there 2 years, and we had 3 layoffs that total were almost 1,000 people in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and in the area, SIG is like, they're known for that. I mean, it's the 2015 one was like the big one.
Yeah, it's 300 and something.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah, I mean, they're at 2,000 now, but it's constantly that. The big companies, I mean, you got to sort of, I mean, that's one thing about being small and agile and creating a product with a lot of demand and being able to get a premium for the product. Like I've never, ever laid anyone off in 28 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and but you work for a big company. There are some perks, but overall, I think if you're passionate about the product and the process, a lot of times the smaller companies can offer you a better place to work.
Those market conditions helped the smaller companies because when the lockdown started easing a bit, we had these mom and pop shops from across the country calling us, begging us for product. They were like, I can't get stuff from this big brand. I can't get stuff from this big brand. They're not even up and running. They have no one in the office. Like, what do you have? I just need something. And at the same time, I think even for the retailers, so many buyers got laid off on the big box retailer side, but these little mom pops, it's just, owner run, and they're
same thing. You got a husband and wife doing all the work.
Right.
Yeah, that's, for me, I'm always, and I've talked about it before, but, when I was young, late teens, I worked in a gun store and gun range, and that's kind of where I got educated on, like, the retail side of it. And, so I always have a place in my heart for that, because I remember when Bass Pro Shop came to our town, and but we knew all we had to do, we could give a better customer experience because we were more educated on the product. And, and having the range and all. But what I realized in going to Bass Pro Shop was you had no one there that understood, or they didn't have the involvement or passion, or they weren't invested into the place because they're just like, some college kids on spring break or summer working at a big box store. It's very different.
You had that rapport with all the local people who had already been coming to your shop, and so you've already built that relationship with them. The
relationship and trust and all those sorts of things. That is interesting. Yeah, we did meet in what was this event? Like, what was that event for? I have my own suspicion. How would you say? We went on an aerial pig hunt in Texas, and what was it?
Well, Matt from Warm Fuzzy put it all together, so shout out to him.
Yep.
And he's just super connected. He's friends with a lot of people, and he seems to have had this idea to almost have a mini event or mini like trade show over there with just industry leaders and photographers, brand owners, creatives, and you brought down some suppressed honey badgers and sugar weasels for those of us that didn't have any,
and the minifix.
That's right.
Yeah. And for me, it looked like a bunch of cool companies get together and sort of use that synergy and create a lot of content.
Right.
Is what the event was, which was great for me. I had a fucking blast.
Yeah.
Matt created this group chat, or maybe Breck created it, Breck from DGHD Collective, but it just kept snowballing into something bigger and bigger. Like, we're in this group chat, and then all of a sudden we hear, there's going to be a band there on Friday night with fog machines, and the band's coming down from Austin, and oh, there will be ladies
yeah.
coming down from Houston who will be bartenders, and they're working on tips only, so tip them well. And the next thing is, oh, there will be an oyster bar there too, and 2 suckling pigs roasted. And I'm just like, all right, this is getting to be more elaborate than your average wedding or bachelor party.
Yeah.
And so I met you there, and we went up on a helicopter hunt. You were in the front seat, and I was behind you.
Appreciate you not shooting me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was your first experience?
That's right, yeah.
First animal you ever shot?
First animal I ever shot.
So
Cool
nice
way to
of
do
this
it.
guy, man.
Cool way to
It
do
is a perfect situation too, where because there's right there on the water. You take off in the helicopter, and we're going inland, and we cross. It's probably a couple 100-acre field, and the biggest boar I saw, and I saw hundreds of pigs on the entire trip, was in the exact middle of that field. Had nowhere to go, and yeah, he just stuck out there in the middle. The biggest boar I saw the whole time. And I'm like, hey, you never shot one, man. Have at it. And we just circled. It was just perfect.
Yeah.
You have video of this. No?
Yeah, I do. I have GoPro footage. Kevin was such a good sport. He just let me have it.
Yeah.
So I had the sugar weasel and just hopped off and got
I wanted
it.
to shoot it, but I was like, man, maybe he'll bring me that 101.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was great. Because, it was seriously the biggest boar I saw. He was alone in this big field. It was just a perfect situation right when we took off and got going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of, I was going to say before it would be a departure, but you kind of segued into it. Being where you're from, I know you said you were into history and I guess military history too, and I would imagine you didn't have a ton of exposure to firearms growing up. As far as I know, maybe you did, but so have you been into guns for a while, or is it always something that was kind of out of reach, or like where did you start? Because I don't know a ton of people from where you're from that are either knowledgeable about guns or into them at all.
Man, I consider myself a student of this stuff. Every day I'm still learning, even just listening to this podcast. But I've always been interested. As a kid, I'd go to the library and, borrow those eyewitness books about, all the wars, the uniforms, the guns, and just was always reading about it. So I know a lot more about historical guns than I do about, like modern parts and, upgrades and things like that.
But your family or nothing into guns?
No one in my family.
Yeah, because where you live, and you probably can't even own guns there, I would imagine, or it's very difficult.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So you get into that. Well, do you think you got into the whole military aspect of it, or you just like the uniforms and the camo and that sort of thing?
Oh, just everything. Yeah, the military aspect. Yeah, especially. And so when I shot the minifix too, that was a first experience for me. Like even shooting 300 blackout.
Oh, that was the first time you shot 300 blackout.
Yeah, that's right. Shooting it suppressed, no less as well.
Was that your first time shooting something with a silencer?
No.
It's the first time shooting something awesome that was super quiet with a silencer.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, what did you think? What was your impression of that?
My impression was it was quieter than an airsoft gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sound of the round hitting the aluminum cans was quieter than the action, than the gun itself.
It's louder? You mean? What do you mean?
Did I say louder?
You said quiet. The round impacting was quieter than the...
louder. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, the round hitting the aluminum was louder.
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
And it is impressive if you've not shot something subsonic, and it just makes shooting so fun. Because you remember when like we started doing that, like one guy over there shot something, and then it's just like, before you know it, 30 of us dudes are over there, and everybody wants to shoot that and shoot this can that we're shooting up the bank and everything, and it just makes shooting so much more fun when it's quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, we weren't shooting with ears at all, and even your sugar weasel in 5.56, with that can on it, we were fine with no ears.
Yeah, the trash panda. Remember compared to that Surefire can? Oh my God, the thing was so loud.
Yeah, Matt told me he was like, I was there for he may have heard it when you told the story on the podcast or something, but he was like, I was there with the whole trash panda Surefire thing. He was like, it was insane.
Yeah.
So I mean, if people think you were lying about it, you are not. We've got other eyewitnesses.
Yeah, so we could only shoot suppressed on that property.
Right.
And at one point, someone was out there with a Surefire.
Right.
And it did not sound very good. And Kevin just turned around and was like, is that one of mine? I was like, okay, good. Just checking.
Yeah.
Just checking.
It was horrible. It was horrible. The whole, oh man. So I think it's a dream for a lot of people to get to go on a helicopter pig hunt. I mean, that to me just combines so many things that are great.
It kind of ruined helicopter rides for me because from now on I was going to be like, am I just going to go on a helicopter and not shoot guns? Yeah. Am I just merely enjoy the view and not kill animals?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that was a great time.
Yeah.
It was sort of my introduction because I didn't know a lot of the companies until Jay and Colin at work started telling me about it. And like Warm, I'd never even heard of them. So, you know, and forward observation, they were there as well. Like I never heard of any of these companies. So it's like this whole underground. Yeah, it's like a bunch of cousins or something.
Yeah.
Like you guys are doing a lot of things that are in the industry and kind of on, you know, the fringes of it and outside of it that are bringing something new to it. And I mean, it can't just be you and I the only ones liking it because it's like
certainly popular.
Britney Spears albums. I mean, they sell millions of them. It ain't me and you buying them all.
Yeah.
So what other company? Okay, what other companies? And I don't know. I don't want this to sound insulting, but I think that are like yours that are. Well, it shouldn't be insulting. Bringing a new approach to this and doing new products. Like I consider Warm and Fuzzy and you guys sort of, you know, related.
Yeah.
In that approach. What other companies are out there you think that you admire that are doing similar things?
Well, like you said, there are communities within communities.
Yeah.
You know, this is definitely a corner of the subculture within a much greater subculture
so
within the culture.
It's true. So who's in your community?
Well, I mean, I definitely appreciate the work that Superior Defense has done.
What do they do?
Well, they
do a multitude of things similar to like
SubDef.
Yeah, exactly.
You told me about that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, they do a lot of graphics, accessories. They do some nylon goods as well. And they recently, actually just yesterday, they did a collaboration with Spiritus.
Yeah.
Learning about Spiritus?
Yeah.
Making fun of the ATF.
The AFT hats and stuff.
I saw that was so good.
Yeah.
Right. So they actually really, I would say, they bring a certain style of photography to the table that at the time no one else was doing.
Yeah.
And I think that was really interesting to see. It was very reminiscent of like skate culture and skate videos.
Yeah. I love it.
Privateer Group.
I don't know that one. I heard of that one.
Another similar company, yeah.
Right. They use the Blackbeard flag, but with a modification so that so they're holding an AR.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of brands that are kind of in our corner of the subculture, but they all have their own unique thing. And so I don't know too many other guys out there doing, like cut and sew the way we are, but we're not doing patches and we're not doing like a ton of, really crazy graphics. And those companies are doing really cool stuff in that vein.
I love some of the art like Matt has on his site with Warm Fuzzy, like just some of the graphics that whether it's posters or T-shirts and stuff like that. I know I bought Ivana a hoodie and stuff from him. It's cool.
Warm Fuzzy is a very unique flavor.
Yeah.
They love raccoons.
Yeah. He told me he's kind of transitioning away from the llama and going towards the raccoon. And we just talked about it real briefly, and he's like, raccoons are sick. I was like, okay, yeah, that's really the only justification you need. Like, it's your company.
Raccoons are great, man. When I first got night vision, actually last year, Goon and Gear very kindly lent me a PVS 14 for a week or two to just play with, and my buddy and I ended up going out in Jersey, just going to parks and stuff, looking at, trying to see if we'll find animals. We ended up saving this raccoon that had fell into a trash can, and there was just a little hole opening on the top, and we heard this animal just yelping and, crying. We saved it, and then we go out for more, and these raccoons are coming up to us under the night vision. They're like checking us out, edging closer. They're very bold animals, but raccoons are great. Warm Fuzzy, he has a very unique sense of humor with the way he runs his brand. His videos,
it shows with the graphics.
Yeah. And same with SubDef. The sense of humor that they have really shines through their
I love that. Everything should be fun and funny.
Yeah. It's cool to see too, like when you that kind of aesthetic and each individual company or group is different, but there's a similar aesthetic that I think everyone in that, like you're saying, that subculture, that community can appreciate, because you have guys like 176 or like Forward Observations where they're not a clothing company or anything. They're predominantly doing training, stuff like that, and then they have I guess like a subsect of themselves where they're doing stuff, but their aesthetic is very similar to like you talked about Breck before. He's got when you see his aesthetic, you're like, oh, I know who that is. And
so he does photography primarily.
Yeah, he's a cool dude too. I just kind of was introduced to him through you guys.
Yeah, I met him on the hunt. Yeah,
very cool dude. Like again,
I think he's
super
coming
funny.
Out, right?
Yeah, I think he's coming with Matt and Lorena.
Nice.
Spoiler alert. But him, Autoseer, very clear.
Oh, he was so cool.
Yeah, you can just tell. Like,
well, his photos, I get excited. Like when I scroll through my Instagram feed and I see he's got a photo up. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, he's so cool. But I think it's cool to see that kind of. It creates that sense of community because you can see, oh, they're all a similar aesthetic. You can tell, oh, these guys are friends with these guys. That's really cool.
I think I love that it's something new and I don't really understand it all and I don't know where it's going to go and how it's going to affect things. I think that part to me is the most exciting part, where I think it's uneasy for a lot of people, but I'm always like, okay with like, whatever, pirate's life, man. We're going to go do this thing and we'll see what happens. Like if it feels right, there might be something there. Explore it.
Yeah. The one thing I really appreciate about this subculture is that it's definitely more collaborative than other communities and subcultures. I mean, you'll see any of these pages that we just mentioned throwing up and tagging other pages, even if it's technically a competitor or whatever. But, they wear each other's patches. They wear each other's tees. We all support each other.
I think what you're saying is I had this conversation with someone else that's a big gun tuber that's coming up for a podcast I hadn't told you about yet. And
I need to know.
We worked it out last night. What, you going to fly and get him?
Well, no, I have to, no, we'll talk about it later.
But, and he brought up, I told him, I said, while you're here, we're like a mile from SIG. You should go see SIG as well. And that was like surprising to him. And I'm like, we're here on purpose because SIG is here. Like we recruit from there. It's a great company. It's just a big company I don't want to work at, but they do a lot of things good. And he's like, well, I know you guys are kind of at odds, and the SIG Cross, like they ripped off our fixed rifle. And I'm like, number one, I mean, the asshole part of me laughs that they just had to recall all their guns. I'm not terribly mad about it, but I said, I think that's what people would think. But I said, you think we just got our marketing department together. Like we just started a marketing department, 2 months ago, Thomas? Has it been that long?
Yeah, but
God damn.
But like really starting to put stuff out only a few months.
Yeah, so we're just getting going now, and it's like I've gotten free marketing all this time, and it really sucked when Instagram. We're up to 100,000, and I wasn't doing any of the tagging and like hashtagging or anything, it just organically. So we had huge engagement. We got to 100,000, they deleted our account, and so I had to start. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but like whatever. But back to the SIG thing. Like we created the fix, and it's difficult to explain. Like it's a utility gun is like predominantly what I call it, but it's creating a little niche within the market where we brought lots of things together and did some new stuff, and it's kind of a new category. And I can't even explain it to you very well, but when SIG decided to get in there and copy it, and it's some people that left our company went there and took a gun, and the great thing is they didn't copy because they couldn't. We have IP on the most critical part, the innards, but what they're doing is they're spending millions of dollars promoting this, and it's this new category of stuff. And so, all they're going to do is create a bigger market. So I'm going to be able to sell more guns, and I don't have to pay for the marketing. And everyone, when or something comes up on that, everyone mentions our company, and then people be like, "But Kevin's an asshole, so don't buy his gun." But now it's like, okay, they have recalls and stuff. And it's like, well, buy the best product. But I love the fact that these big companies, it happened with silencers years ago too, almost 20 years ago. And it was real niche, mom and pop. Probably the silencer business at its best was like your community within our community starting out. Like you're in your infancy. Like where's it going to go? And then Surefire jumps into silencers, and it was a huge multi-million-dollar company. They spent more in advertising than the entire silencer market made every year. And I'm like, this is awesome because they're going to educate and really grow the market. And they're making it mainstream by being a mainstream company entering this. And that's exactly what happened. The market just grew.
Yeah. Yeah, appreciation for the market makers is definitely a good take.
Yeah.
Insofar as you said earlier that you don't think I could have sold this product, like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I would even say maybe 5 to 8 years ago. I'm not even sure if it would have been there because these subcultures really came up within the last 4 years.
Social media makes it so easy. It can happen so much faster. Like explain to my son, who he and I share skateboarding together, and we're 30 years difference in age. And it's like I looked at Thrasher magazine, and then once a year I would get a VHS tape of either a competition or that some silence or some skateboard company would put out. And that was our exposure. Like, that was it. Like, you counted down the days till the Thrasher magazine showed up in the mailbox. Like, that's all you got to see. And to think now, you're like, you know what? We did the bomber jackets, kind of cool. I'm going to start an Instagram page, and then bam, you sell out every drop in minutes.
Right.
Like, you couldn't have done that. Like, when I was young, that was just impossible. Yeah, so it's interesting to see.
Too, like what you're saying, even like you said 4 or 5 years ago, I think the companies, maybe not the ones we mentioned before, but I think companies in general, especially like gun companies, I don't think you would see work together. And I think it would.
I think you'll start to see it.
I think you will now.
This is a trend that is going to continue in our industry.
Yeah, and I think that. I guess I just bring it back to the groups that we talked about before, but it's so cool to see the inclusion within an industry that is generally not super inclusive. Like, you don't have a military background, but on this trip that you guys were just on, like, you had the guys from Forward Observations, a lot of still active duty, like,
I know.
soft
it's
guys.
like me not having an engineering degree. Do I? If I have like 6-degree engineers that work under me, does he need a military background?
Right.
If he has the passion and interest, but then all of his community, like most of them do, that he's collabing with?
Dude, you had war fighters, photographers, tattoo artists. I mean, it was really a group of eccentrics.
Whatever Kevin is.
Yeah. I want to ask you more about this trip real quick because I didn't see you that much on night one, that Friday night.
Yeah, I go to bed early. I don't stay out. I'm old.
I was up till 4 a.m. that night.
Yeah, none of you guys got up the next day.
Well,
Kevin was hitting it hard in the morning.
They don't have windows in those rooms there, so it's like a casino.
Idea.
There's no natural light that comes in. So when your alarm goes off, whatever, there's just no light in the room.
Yeah,
no, I mean, to me, I did more of that when I was more your age. Like, if I'm going down there, for me, I won't say just business, but I'm just not at that stage in my life. Like, Matt and I were down there together, a friend of mine. Shout out to Matt. Appreciate the ride.
Matt Gomez was a cool dude.
Fucking awesome. But we wanted to, like, shoot pigs and get pictures of product. Like, I don't, and I don't think he drinks a ton. Like, I probably drink daily, but I don't. And like, I'm so old now and stuff. If I, like, stay up and get super shit-faced, like, I'm like you. I'm getting up at 4 the next day. Like, I'm just not doing that, man. I'm not on a 2 or 3 day trip where I can get in a helicopter. I don't want to be throwing up out of the thing. I want to be shooting pigs.
So,
and then the next night, like at 8:00, we went and laid down because we watched the UFC fight. So Matt and I were just, and I've been out like night hunting and stuff a lot. So, and when it's like 30, 40 guys with guns in the woods with night vision, like I'm all set, man. I'll be the asshole gets shot.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I wish I'd done what you did because the Saturday night when we all went hunting with the night vision, our group, they broke us up into groups of like 5, 6, 7, whatever. I had a group of 7 or 8 with me, and we didn't see a single hog all night. We all did
because you guys were all walking through yelling at each other.
But yeah, we actually saw one hog all night, and it crossed the street right in front of us, and that was it.
Yeah, like I got a place in Georgia, and I'll be pig hunting tomorrow night, and we'll shoot a pig, and we'll sit down. Ivana and I, like our best friends, they live next to my old farm in Georgia, and we have an apartment and an outbuilding at their place now, and so his whole family lives in this entire area. He's related to everyone because they've been there for like 250 years. And so we can hunt this entire area where we live, like have permission to hunt. And so we have cameras set up that text you pictures. And so when there's pigs there, we just get a picture. So we just hang out with the girls who are like barbecuing, or like we'll be shooting at his farm. And then we get a picture like, oh God, there's pigs there right now. Okay, we got to go. We'll be back. And then we just have like the Jeep set up with the guns in it and everything. And we just jump in and run over there. And it's so fun. So yeah, I don't need to. And he and I do it at night too. So I don't need to go out with a bunch of dudes.
Do you have night vision?
Oh yeah, thermal.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah, I actually use thermal primarily. Chad likes night vision a lot, but got him into using the thermal now. But I just have used it for so long and so much. Like, I'm good with thermal. Like, I'm not confused. You know, here's the thing. Like with night vision, if like there are some places set up where you can cull deer and you get permits for that, and with thermal you can't see antlers unless they're in velvet generally. So you need night vision for stuff like that. Or if you don't have good quality thermal and you can't make out what an animal is if you're not certain. Mm-hmm. But you know, thermal's the easiest for me, and it's typically what I use. But if I want to drive around the farm like with the lights off, I use night vision. But other than that, thermal is what I like. So.
I don't have any of them. I just watch Kevin. I go, oh, yeah, that looks good.
I just got my first set of night vision about a month or two ago, just in time for our Texas trip. So, yeah, it was the dual tubes. Mm-hmm. Did you have a dual tube setup as well? Yeah. Cool. What are you rocking?
Right now, I just use the thermal. But, I mean, I generally have... I don't get it all now. But typically, I'll end up trading or somehow getting just about everything that comes out. And then if I'm not using it, I just don't use the night vision that more. I don't like wearing the helmets and shit either. But I tell you, when I first got my first set of dual tubes, and this is like years ago now, but man, I tell you, I don't think I turned the lights on in the house for like a week. At night, I would just like walk around doing stuff. And, you know, like I've always used it a lot, but I don't find that I have the need for night vision like I do thermal. So.
Well, that's another thing with you too, is that people who know, but your entire career in the industry, it wasn't like most people where they're just like, oh, I worked at Cabela's for a few years and then got into a gun company. Like, you were around all these guys all the time. So I think the allure to it wasn't as strong as it is for some guys like us, where you see it and it's like, oh, it's unobtainable.
Yeah, well, it was obtainable for me. And then I think I was very fortunate, you know, like we just had John Clements on and like working with his guys or whatever. Like I used to would go to, like we call it inside the fence, or I'd go to some of the compounds, like some of the special operations groups, and I would be there for like a week doing a lot of stuff with them, and I would inevitably get to train and shoot a lot with them. And it helped them, like if they taught me some of what they're doing, then from a product design standpoint, it made more sense to me. And then we'd become friends too. And they would do a lot of testing and shit even at my farm back then. And they would come down to evaluate product and stuff. But you know what I would get to do is what you learn is within those groups, half the dudes that are shooters are really into the gear and stuff, and they really train a lot. And half the dudes are just like naturally great, and they aren't into guns or anything. It's just another tool to them, and they don't. But I remember I was learning to shoot with thermal. And then in long range, so we were backing up, and it was like some of their training, and I was super into it because, you know, it's like embarrassing if you suck and all that. And then for me, I'm like, oh my God, I can start doing some of my farm. I'm like, I can afford my own thermal, and I had a 1,000-yard range at my farm, and I hunted all the time at night and stuff like that. You know, Chad and I did with pigs, but I got super into it, and so I just spent so much time doing it. And I remember I was on the range one day with one of the teams, like the head sniper. And we were shooting long range with thermal, and he was making calls, and I was like taking shots, and I was doing like okay, and he's like, and you know, and I remember asking him something. He's like, "You're better than half the guys on the team with thermal," and I was like, "What in the hell?" He says the thing is, like thermal, there is just no substitute. Like doing this, you have to come and train and use it. And he's like, a lot of guys, they just don't spend the time and effort. And you know, this is one of the things like golf or shooting a handgun. Like you have to be on the gun, like using the thermal to be effective with it. And that was cool. So I've just spent so much time with it, you know, and then having the ability to use it in my personal life because I had land where we could hunt pigs and all that. And I mean, I've used thermal. I bet I've turned a thermal on every week for the past 12 or 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I think that's a disconnect that a lot of people don't think of or recognize, where it's like guys with that aren't around it all the time, like they just assume these soft guys are super into gear. That's all they're thinking about. That's all they want. But it's like, yeah, some of them. But then you talking to Matt from Warm Fuzzy, like he was like, I'm not a huge gun guy. He's like, I like a lot of stuff. He's tactics wise, like all the experience, that guy probably uses a gun more than any of us. But maybe not you. But they just assume, oh, these high speed guys, whatever, they're all about gear, and most of them aren't. Most of them are just like, yeah, I like guns. I think they're cool. I'd love to learn about them, but they can use one.
Most of them shoot when they're training, and they shoot like at their place, and that's it. And like to me, no, I shoot probably every day, to something. And I mean, I know 2 days ago I was by myself. I went to my property here, and I shot, I don't know, probably 300 rounds.
I remember you said you shot a ton, yeah.
You know, I mean, you know what I shot a lot with? What was interesting, you know, Leopold sent me that Delta Point Pro, so I put it on my hunting rifle. I'm taking to Africa, so my bolt gun, I'm taking a 6.5 and a 308. So I put the offset Delta.
Oh, the 45, yeah.
The 45. And so I wanted to zero that 2 days ago when I went, and I did that. And so I had stills set up at 20 meters to 100 meters and just shot that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I probably shot 2 boxes of ammo just shooting that.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I was thinking, oh, I need this like inside 20 meters or whatever to shoot. But then it's like, oh, first shot. Oh, smaller target. Oh, this isn't bad. So I'm like, well, how far can I? And I just get like carried away. I just end up shooting like all the time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I was very fortunate to get invited out to Arizona to go skydiving back in December by GBRS Group.
Yep.
And those guys are former.
he crushes on them hard.
Naval Special Warfare.
I have the biggest dude crush on Slade.
Yeah. Our last guest, he basically for that group ran all the arms room and arms development stuff for
John
like 20
Clemens.
years. Yeah, John Clemens.
Yeah.
So cool guys, super nice of them to invite me out. And so that was my first time skydiving. But they were out there training, and there were these guys from France and Switzerland out there training those guys. And so, I mean, I'm the one doofus up in the plane going tandem.
Right, yeah.
And, you know, it was actually a very nice, cute girl who was, you know, my instructor attached to me, very reassuring, like, oh, you're a natural, Mike. Okay. Just whispering in my ear, just, you're doing great. But so they're flying.
You're just trying not to piss yourself.
Right. And they're doing somersaults and all these kinds of maneuvers. And they're down, they get down and they're like all frustrated. And they're reviewing the footage and they're just like, man, I wasn't happy with my form. And then these Swiss guys are just like, you know, oh yeah, so you're doing too much this. I don't want to see this. I want to see, you know, your back look like this. And that was enlightening for me because, you know, I was assuming that like DevGuru are just, that's as good as it gets when it comes to just about anything that they do, whether it's skydiving or anything else. But it was so cool to get to see that they are constantly learning and they're constantly being educated, and that these guys specialize in training, you know, special operations guys.
Right. Somebody teaches all of them all the little niche things they have to know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually didn't even expect to go skydiving that trip.
Yeah.
They were just like, hey, come
they
out.
Just throw that on you?
Yeah.
No thanks.
Jump out.
Right. So, you know, on the way there, they were just like, come out, you know, we'll get some content and, you know, we'll review some samples with you. And when I get there, they were like, you ever gone skydiving before? I was like, no. They're like, want to go? I was like, all right.
What a great first experience story, though. Holy shit.
Yeah.
No time to psych myself out. So I just, there were no nerves.
Yeah. They're another, as far as we're talking aesthetic, the way they film and the way they edit their stuff, another very cool aesthetic.
So what are they called?
GBRS Group.
And what do they do?
They're all medically retired DevGuru guys. They do a lot of training. I know John talked about them doing a lot of, they're doing some testing and stuff with the proof barrels.
Okay.
I think they do media for people. I think they'll outsource and do some media stuff for people. They just have their hand in a little bit of everything.
And they sell merch. They also do drops and they sell like graphic tees and stuff. And I got to say, Slade, who's one of the guys, he knows
My
more.
boyfriend.
Yeah, he knows more about apparel possibly than I do.
Really?
This guy knows terminology that I don't even know, and he knows a ton about denim specifically, and he's the guy that wears the skinny jeans on
Right, yeah.
the crew.
Oh, Todd Askin's crew.
But the way like when we talk about samples and when he's on the phone with me, he'll have such specific requests for anything from like the zipper to the type of flap on a pocket to the type of button. He really knows his stuff, and it's because he actually grew up caring about apparel and
Right.
and garments.
Is that a family business of his or anything, or just something he just is interested in and he started doing it?
He was just I think he was in a skate or whatever growing up.
Yeah.
He grew up in Hawaii.
And and that's another just like what we talked about, where we assume these soft guys and tier 1 guys that's all they care about, the gear, the mission, the guns, like all that stuff. But they all have regular interests. Like DJ was into skating, so he did Tribe Skates. Like you just said, Slade was into fashion, so he knows all about that. Like, I think people
that's interesting.
They just assume all this stuff.
It's really great. Yeah, like 25 years ago when I first was exposed to all that with those guys, it was like, I don't know. And a lot of my original exposure was like Army Rangers, and back then it was all macho.
Yeah, super.
Anything that wasn't macho was, you were gay. It was just like so stupid.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. No, it's funny. I probably from 10 years before I sold Advanced Armament, maybe not that long, maybe like 6 or 7, I had a half pipe in the factory where I would skate. And, all those guys, when they come there for something, because we were close to Fort Benning, always, like make fun of you about it. Like, whatever, man. But the Swedes, their special forces, did a lot with us, and they would come over once or twice a year to see us. And the guy who was in charge of their special operations at the time was like the 88-89 Swedish national vert champion.
That's awesome.
And, like when I met him and all, he's the head of like their tier 1 group special operations and looks like a frickin' linebacker or like a pro wrestler, or looks like he would rip your arms off. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. And he's the only guy ever that just got on the ramp and skated it. And like, he thought it was so cool. And then to me, I'm like, look at that.
Yeah, it is pretty cool, isn't it?
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
These GBRS guys, right? DJ.
I don't know him, but I know of him.
So
he's got his poster up.
I'd like to know him. Yeah, I've got his poster on my wall.
So he's one of the 3 guys, but he's the one that actually has his face like
Blurred.
blurred. He's the unit. Like, he's just a huge dude. It's like 250 pounds of probably like nearly 0% body fat.
He's a monster.
And man, like when he talks, he just has this big, like just deep, raspy voice too. Like when he says something, and it's almost like you just want to get out of his way.
It's scary.
You're watching videos of him, I'm intimidated by him.
Right. But yeah, I mean, he's the one skating. I ended up going to buy groceries with Cole out there in Arizona, and it turns out that DJ just loves his ice cream, and we're just there.
Yeah, I think Todd told us he like ran into Slade at like Chipotle or something. Like when Todd was here, Todd asked him, he's like, "Oh yeah, I ran into Slade like at Chipotle last week or whatever." Like
Virginia Beach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it is cool to. I think the point I tried to make before was just that some people may idolize these people, or they just put them on this pedestal and don't remember that they're people. They're above average people. They have skills that not everyone possesses, but they're still just like us.
Yeah, there's more to their identity than their job.
Right.
Yeah.
It is interesting, like when you think of people being famous, and that's our version of it in our industry, like whether it would be like a pro athlete or whatever, like Tiger Woods, or your man DMX yesterday.
Rest in peace to a king.
Oh, man. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, they have this job, then everything else is like normal people problems and interests.
Well, even, I mean, I see it on a level or a different level, but even with you, like people assume they know who you are. They've only seen X, Y, and Z from you. And then even that trip you guys went on, like hearing stuff from all these guys that were there were like, oh, we heard X, Y, Z about Kevin. And then as soon as we meet him, like completely different, like super humble, helpful, all this stuff. So I think you have a bit of a personality. I've said it before. You're polarizing to some people on the internet, and then when people actually get to meet you, they're like, oh, he's just a regular dude, just like us. Like he's just done a lot of cool stuff. And I think that so you see it on all levels.
Yeah.
I went into that trip with none of that baggage.
Yeah.
No preconceived notions about Kevin. So yeah, when I met you, it was just like, oh yeah, thanks so much for lending me this this rifle. And then we actually just sat around that fire pit and talked about family and raising kids for like 40 minutes.
Because it's
that's what you do.
I have
every
a
day.
gun company, but much of my time is consumed with dealing with 3 children.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it ends up a big part of my life right now. Yeah, that's a weird one. I don't know. You can embrace it too. Like with every industry or everything that goes on, there's always, there always needs to be like a villain. There always needs to be a hero. I mean, I remember growing up loving basketball. It was the Lakers and the Celtics were the bad guys. But then it became the Pistons, and Dennis Rodman and
89, 90.
and you always got to have somebody like that. And for me, like, I don't give a shit. Like, I didn't get in the industry to make friends. And I love the fact that I can have my haters promote my products so I can spend my money on, like, whatever, growing the business or a swimming pool or going on hunting trips. I don't have to pay for marketing. Like, okay, run your mouth about me. Like, as long as I make the best stuff, doesn't matter what you say. Like, I know who I am. And yeah, so when you meet people who have other interests and it's interesting to me, that's cool to me. Yeah. And
you kind of just said something that I guess it's a little bit of a segue, but I know you talked earlier about how the general idea with Qilo is just you want to be doing stuff that's different.
Right.
Obviously your stuff is high quality as well. Is that another tier of your thinking for that? Like you want to do something that's different, but you also want to do things that maybe are innovative or ingenuitive, or you're trying to get that next level of quality, or do you not? Is it just like you don't?
What's the question?
Quality is 100%, man.
Well,
no. Like, very valid question because, we actually don't make tees or hoodies out of blanks.
Right.
I request fabric charts from our factories of different thickness, like 320 GSM for hoodies, 340. We'll go up to even 400 GSM ounce weight for French terry or fleece, and I'll review in depth with my team these different fabric charts that we get, whether it's suede or different thicknesses of the fleece, whether it's micro fleece or the Sherpa fleece, and even things as our tees, we're constantly upgrading. Our tees moving forward are actually going to be even thicker and softer, and because it's cut and sew, we specify the measurements. So it's really important to us actually that we don't just take blanks and print on them, but that everything is made from scratch.
See, that's interesting because you're right. It's probably different than anyone else in the industry, unless maybe it's like Cry when they're making uniforms for guys or whatever. But
yeah,
just that approach.
I think you did a very good job of explaining what I was trying to get to. But it's just like, I think there are certain companies that have that's their motto is like, we're different, but they're not, they're doing different designs or like you said, logos or whatever, but they're not changing the game as far as, like you said, all the different samples of materials and trying to improve what's already been done.
What's different is the product category. My personal favorite jacket that we've done yet is that multicam black puffer that we dropped in January, just because no one's made a puffer in this industry. I mean, maybe there are smaller puffers, like the Arc'teryx. They, of course, do really
My
cool.
Arc'teryx one, and God bless them, they've always hooked me up a lot. First time out, elbow split.
Uh-oh.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I just mean the thick puffer.
Yeah.
Like the North Face style puffer. No one
I'll
in
show
our
you this
particular
one.
subculture. By the way, I brought one for you because I have like a double XL left. So.
How's it feel, Kevin? My man.
Feels like I should have had that donut for breakfast, and maybe I'd be the double XL.
That's true. I wear big clothes, baby. We big clothes.
Is it one of one?
Gangbanger.
No, that one's not one of one.
That's fine. Hey, listen, I don't need to be special. Just part of the gang.
Not one of one. I got some for you.
Hit them with the questions.
Hit them with it. Gucci or Louis Vuitton?
Neither, man. I honestly don't really care about either one.
Really?
Yeah.
They're not good quality? Not good design? What are you talking about?
I just don't care. They're just so saturated. I'll tell you what, their runway collections are actually where the interesting things happen. But like the Gucci monogram, the LV monogram, that's their least interesting stuff, and that's the thing that most people are acquainted with.
You did a Louis Vuitton little nutsack thing, or was it one of these?
Yeah,
He'll
yeah,
have more
I did.
than
I did those. I did some of the slings. We've done some
Convertible.
gear out of it, but honestly, I don't find those to be our most interesting pieces.
Well, why did you do them?
Because it was different. At the time, no one had done a tactical pouch or sling out of those patterns, out of those designer things. So it was just something we wanted to try, really just out of self-amusement, and people really liked it, and we sold a bunch. But
well, what are some big designers or brands in like the clothing space that you've been inspired by, or like, or admire, or has it got to be like niche, like dark web, to be cool to you?
You like a big Balmain Go Yard guy?
man, I actually like some of the stuff Burberry's doing.
Okay.
Burberry, they were one of the last to really get out of their mold of old-fashioned looks, but recently they've been doing some streetwear stuff, and I like their cuts. I like their materials. I like the way it looks, and I like that it isn't just super saturated everywhere like some of the other brands. So Burberry's kind of cool. I like some of the collections Prada's been coming out with. But again, I don't follow this stuff. Like, I don't even consider myself a fashion guy. I like apparel. I like garments. I like fabrics. I like products more so than, the whole fashion thing.
That's an interesting approach.
Yeah, it's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
What about you, Kevin? You Gucci or Louis guy? I know you got your Gucci flip-flops you walk around in here all the time.
I do?
No.
I think those are rainbow.
It's from a song.
You know what I do have? I have a Gucci watch that I got for Christmas in the 6th grade.
What? 6th grade, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I think I got some like underwear and socks in the 6th grade.
Yeah, I mean, this was like my entire Christmas. I think it was probably like $250-$300, and I'm sure my birthday is 2 weeks after Christmas. It was probably a combo gift, if I'm guessing. You get fucked on that whole deal, but yeah, I do. And it's black rectangular face, Roman numerals, gold hands, gold like bezel, 3 black stripes on the outside of it, and some sort of fake lizard black band. Yeah.
You wear glasses, right?
Yeah, as of like 2 years ago.
Do you wear any like cool glasses? Any brands that you might rock?
Nope, I get them when
from Walgreens.
my assistant gives them to me, or these were from Walgreens. Yeah, I mean, at some point, because I don't want to fully commit to the glasses. I'm thinking I'm going to go get LASIK. So, but yeah, if I do not and I continue to have to wear glasses on a daily basis, I am going to put some effort into doing something cool.
That's one thing I might actually explore is designer glasses.
I was going to say, is that something you're into, like frames or like even the watch type thing? Or is that anything that you're interested in?
I'm just getting into it. I picked up Oliver Peoples glasses a few months ago just because in American Psycho, Patrick Bateman wears Oliver Peoples. And I passed by one of their stores, and they do have some nice frames, some of which have been in stock for them since the 70s. They still sell those same frames.
Huh. Yeah. I don't know. All that. I mean, any sort
I've
of
had
stuff.
glasses since I was in 3rd grade, but I just run contacts 100% of the time. So.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be getting eye surgery before contacts if possible. I don't think I could deal with the contacts.
Really?
I'm not, well,
It is a
I'm
pain
too
in the balls.
irresponsible and not organized enough to, I think, live that contact life.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I completely agree with Kevin. Contacts sound like high maintenance and responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, look at his hair. He's used to high maintenance. Huh. Okay. So that's interesting, though. I like it. You're into the cuts and the fabrics and stuff like that more than just inspired by fashion. All right. Speaking of fashion, how about gun fashion? You like the old AR or the AK?
I started off as an AK guy.
Wow. Our first
Now I'm
one?
more into ARs, but I'll always have a love for the AKs. I definitely started off as almost like I don't even want an AR because everyone has an AR.
Oh, one of those things.
Yeah, one of those guys.
The irony of that, man, is pretty sure there's a lot more AKs in the world than ARs. Just saying.
Yeah. I soon learned, though, that, the ergonomics of the AK is just so front heavy, generally speaking.
Yeah, the ergonomics are dog shit on an AK.
Right.
That's facts.
And then really just learning about how the receivers work and how you get the upper and the lower with the AR, and you could just have multiple uppers, and they're just so modular. At this point, I'm an AR guy, but AKs have a special place in my heart.
Still has love for his history.
Yeah, he's got love for the block. Not so much the streets, but
the communist block.
The block.
All right. Well, with that said, Glock or CZ?
At this time, CZ.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Glock 19 was my favorite until I shot a CZ P10C, and the ergonomics just worked a bit better for me.
Yeah, CZ makes nice stuff. Ergonomics good.
Yeah,
I like CZ.
They're definitely more comfortable guns than a Glock. I got a little bitch hands, but I love my Glock.
What about you?
Too small to drop. I mean, I think it depends. It's a tool. You put it in the toolbox. Like if I'm carrying a gun and I need it to rely on it to help save my life, I like a Glock. But the CZ75, very prolific military gun. But ergonomically, or some of the CZ target guns, I mean, how can you not love them if you shoot them? So it's. I mean, I'm not a snob about it. It's like, for me, it's a tool in the sense of I get a Glock. Yeah, for that reason, I have a ton of Glocks, but they're all to like one in each car, or scatter them throughout the house, or like whatever the situation is. But it's just a tool to save my life, and if I'm target shooting, and I shoot the Glocks a lot, and I think I need to because I'll carry a Glock, but it is not my pick in any capacity if we're just going over the property and going to shoot steel all day for recreation and fun. Like if Yvonne and I go shoot, I'll shoot, I'll run a couple boxes of ammo through the Glock and then set it down and, maybe shoot a few rounds before I reholster it to carry it. But the bulk would be, with a CZ or something comparable. I shoot rimfire a ton for a pistol, actually, so. Hammerly, if you really want to know. I'm not even asking you.
I already said it.
Okay. Favorite military historical firearm.
Oh, man.
There's only one right answer, but go ahead.
That's a hard one. Because I just love all of them. What's the right answer to you?
No, I don't know. I was talking shit.
Stoner 63.
I'm so old I don't even consider that really historical. But I do, yes, I love the Stoner 63A. The FG42.
Okay, yeah.
The
the
FG42 is probably, the false. That gun just did so many cool things, and it was such a kind of a different approach, and the concept of it. Most of the German stuff I just love. The Sturmgewehr, sort of like coined as the first assault rifle. That was interesting, but the FG42 is it's a real cartridge. It's a compact, lightweight gun. The flip-up sights, the scope mount, the side feed mag, that, the butt stock absorbs the recoil it moves to help with a lightweight, full-power cartridge. It was way ahead of its time.
And, I've heard you speak about aesthetic and how important it is to everything. And aesthetically speaking, the FG42, it even has two versions, the really angled.
The first version, yeah.
Yeah, and then the second both look great. FG42 is a good pick. I think it's really cool how the M250 cal is just about the longest serving weapon
Super
ever.
Simple looking, just a box with a barrel on the end of it.
Right.
It's iconic. I mean, all those Browning designs. The 1919 A4 is another one that would be in my top 2 or 3. And, of course, like the MG42. Like, I don't think I have that different of taste. But, I still go back to the FG42, I think. My favorite to shoot is probably, I love shooting the M2, and I've got a couple of them. But now ammo is so expensive, it turns me off a bit. But the 1919 A4, so like a 30 caliber smaller version of it that was really prolific. It's like the best shooting gun, and there are cloth belts, and there's a belt loader for that. That's almost as fun as shooting the gun. They're reliable, and John Browning was just such a genius. I like a lot of his stuff.
Yeah. I did get to shoot a full auto MP40, and that thing is just so controllable.
They shoot
low
shoot
cyclic
really
rate,
well.
right?
Yeah, low cyclic rate. I think 550 to 600. But ergonomically, it's a little weird. The stock is shit on it. I don't like that.
Right.
And the single position feed magazine of guns of that era, the open bolt 9mm, they're so hard to load. It's a bitch, so the mags suck. Shooting the gun, though, it's a great shooting gun. But a lot of the guns of that generation, they're just really easy to shoot. Heavy blowback, open bolt guns. A lot of the German stuff was good. I mean, so good. Some of the World War I era stuff, it's like they were getting some French influence. Like the Luger is iconic, and it looks amazing. It's very interesting. That toggle action's stupid.
Well, right after that, I got to shoot the MP5 SD full auto, and that's probably my answer to your question.
Really?
Is that it's recent. I haven't shot an FG42 yet.
But you may never. But
mag dumping the MP5 SD was just it was easy and it was fun.
Yeah, maybe that should have been my choice with the whole silencer thing and all, but maybe the Honey Badger is the most significant one. The MP5 SD is a lot of people's favorites. I mean, that was all my kids' favorite for a long time. Ivana loves it. It's so funny too. Like somebody was, being a bit douchey with me on a forum last night. I responded to a question I got emailed to me, and his talked about how like the Rattler was far superior to the Honey Badger, and one of his main points is, well, it's a piston gun and they're better. Like, okay, how's that better? Well, it's cleaner. Well, not really. Not with a silent. And it's like, well, everybody knows, like, AR gets dirty because with a silencer, because all the debris goes, I guess he thinks, rather than coming down the barrel where it actually goes up through the gas system in the gun, and it makes it gassier than a piston gun. It's like, okay, well then why is the MP5 like the gassiest gun in the world? Like, that thing's roller delayed blowback. There is no gas system, and dump a mag through that and see if you can breathe.
Also, go shoot a 416. They're tragically overgassed.
Yeah.
I mean, they work, but like
a piston gun.
Yeah.
But the SD, that is a great gun to get anyone enjoy shooting.
Right.
Like it just truly is. All right. Oh. Okay, this one actually came from Ivana. Let's see. So, Brooklyn or Manhattan?
Oh man.
She would say, and with her
she would say
Nazi
Brooklyn.
accent, she would say there's only one answer.
She's a blood killer. That's why she go Brooklyn. She's a crip.
I've had good times at both. There was an entire era of my life where I was part of the Brooklyn like underground techno scene, where it was just going to these like warehouse
Get the glow
parties.
sticks, turn the lights off.
No glow sticks.
Oh,
We're talking just
sure.
grungy, like dark warehouses with like dark techno, and I mean that was Brooklyn.
Techno Viking.
I don't
Remember
want to
that?
go. Yeah, I do. I don't want to go to this.
You don't want to go?
Don't you want to
No.
see Mike there? Totally.
That's true. Okay. Yeah. If you can like vouch for me when they give me the who do you know?
Well,
Yeah,
then what about Manhattan is it that you like?
Well, some people think that raves are like glow sticks and this sort of thing.
Yeah, we've
but
seen the documentaries.
These raves are like no one's smiling. No one actually looks
just
happy.
where I
Everyone
wanna
just
be.
smokes cigarettes and wears black and like looks down and just does this dance.
Sounds like high school, actually.
Now, Manhattan I do a lot of Manhattan these days just because there's such a variety of different neighborhoods in short distance. All my favorite restaurants right now are in Manhattan. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm actually going to give it to Brooklyn.
Brooklyn Banks.
Yeah?
Brooklyn, because of the amount of cultural artists and musicians, and it's just disproportionate the amount of people that have come out of Brooklyn and affected world, or U.S. culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nas or Jay-Z?
I'm going to give it to Nas, man.
There it is.
Made Jay's day.
Yeah. Jay-Z, I was never that big of a fan of his voice, to be honest.
No, he does a lot of talking like Johnny Cash did too. He's the Johnny Cash of rap.
I like Reasonable Doubt, his first album. The instrumentals are good, but I like Illmatic more.
Yeah.
And yeah.
He
there it
hates
is.
Illmatic, old Nas. I think he's just sick of it. Because it's like he's got all this work and he's just known for Illmatic. Hey, do Illmatic. So yeah, I've heard him speak that he's not the biggest fan of Illmatic.
I've often wondered about that, like bands or artists that have like 20, 30, 40-year careers going on stage and all like headlining festivals. No one wants to hear them do their latest work. They want to hear them do the thing that they've been doing for 20, 30 years.
But also imagine going up and playing Sweet Home Alabama again. Like, how many times have they played that?
Yeah, but the reaction you get from the crowd when that comes on.
That's true.
I mean, it's got to be it. Otherwise, you couldn't do it. You'd become an alcoholic drug addict.
I'm sure they did that too.
Yeah. Well, so for the other Qilo Tactical, what's up? How are you going to grow this? What are the next things you're doing?
We're definitely going more into outerwear. Outerwear has always been the thing that I've thought it's the coolest. I mean, just for someone who lives in the Northeast and it's cold, I just love jackets because jackets are something that you could just wear a T-shirt and put on a puffer, or you can really, if it's fall or spring, you could really layer and work with all different kinds of thicknesses, you know.
Yeah, the chore jackets that you're doing are really cool, and they look good, and they're purpose built. But
yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and that's our newest category that we added was the chore coat. But you know, one thing that's cool about fall in the Northeast is you can have a T-shirt and then a button down and then a jacket on top of that. For the Sherpa that you're wearing, it's actually highly breathable. Wind passes right through it. So the idea here is that if you walk outside, it'll keep you warm, but you're not gonna end up swampy in there. But if it's really really cold, I've actually worn a Cordura, a hard shell underneath it, and then that insulates it. Yeah. So what's next for us is we just want to keep making new product categories. Probably going to do more puffers, since the puffer we're going to do more color variations of the Sherp that you're wearing, and I might revisit bombers at some point. And the other thing that I really enjoy doing is nylon. We've made backpacks. We've made the the pouch that you're wearing, the convertible, and that stuff's all U.S. made and U.S. sourced as well. Just making different kinds of products.
That's pretty rare now.
Category. And one thing about nylon is you almost never get returns or exchanges because it's one size. With any given drop of apparel, there's going to be someone that's going to return or exchange it because it didn't fit. But with an accessory, it's that's it.
That's great. Yeah, awesome. Bags. I mean, we need bags. We're just like women. We need bags. Yeah. You know what I think I'm going to put in this in Africa?
What?
I don't know. Maybe Rhodesian. Maybe I shouldn't wear it in Africa. I don't know.
Be careful.
My small binoculars.
Oh yeah,
they fit perfectly in here
with the rangefinder on.
No, that pair is too big.
Too big,
and I don't like wearing them around my neck or having that harness on because I've got a little harness for them, but it's aggravating. So I generally, if we're getting out of a vehicle, I have a little backpack and I have them in there. I just like having my gun. But this is so small, I'll keep the small ones in here because they're half the stuff I'll shoot. I won't need to range. Like it'll be inside 150 meters.
Right.
No need to range. But I can check it out. Fits perfectly. I checked when we were on our break.
Perfect.
That's what I'm going to put in here, I think, in my vape.
That pouch prevents me from losing my wallet, keys, phone, mask, 5-hour energy, AirPods, whatever it is you want to. It's just a pocket dump.
Just big enough for a man.
Yeah, you've got yours, your little multicam black right here.
Yeah, this is cooler, but I mean that one's okay.
But how many times have you been to Africa?
Who's asking? Why you want to know?
I find it interesting because I haven't been to Africa yet. Obviously,
you're not.
Go.
I'll bring you.
You should go. It's it's so cheap right now because it just opened back up. So I'm going with Field Ethos, and it's a hunting show thing. So, but overall, you can go to Africa now because they were shut down for a year. So South Africa, a lot safari and. Both just like visual or photography and shooting. Those are huge, sources of tourism and of their economy. And they're shut down for a year. So a lot of places went out of business, and they're just trying to get people to go back there now. So now you can go on a 7-animal safari for the price of 1 2 years ago.
Wow. So
it's like so cheap. If you're not afraid to travel right now, it's stupid not to go. Like you can
go to Africa.
Way more bang for the buck.
Okay.
I mean, it's literally like 15 cents on the dollar. because those trips usually, because you know what happens is I'll go with kind of a budget in my mind, and you get there and you're like, well, shit. And every day I see that might not be back here. Oh, that would be cool. And, you know, your guide's like, hey, we can go up over the mountain. And, you know, and part of the adventure to me is we don't know what's going to happen. And so, you know, I don't like just riding around the truck and shooting some stuff to bring back to mount on the wall. And I'm okay with that if that's your thing. And I actually like doing that fine. But what I like is to ride around, see everything, and then we spot and stalk. And because that's where all the adventure happens, you know, and that's the part that I love. You know, besides shooting animals, I like that too. But I'll go there. You know, hopefully either we'll see if we can get in and out this year. But I want to go to Poland on a hunt, a red deer hunt, stag. I'll go to New Zealand at the beginning of next year. You know, and I had a bunch of trips last year that were canceled, but because of COVID, it's changed my hunting a little bit. Because of the international travel and who knows what's going to happen, you know, vaccine-wise, and they just keep shutting stuff down. Like our trip to Africa has actually been, in the last 2 months, has been rescheduled 3 times. So it's been kind of if I were in charge of it, I would have just canceled it. It's a pain in the ass, but I'm not, so they do it for me, whatever. But it's made me really focus on hunting North America, well, America, because Canada is still screwed up too, but so Alaska, out west, I'm going on every trip I can the next few years and planning them in America. Because it's just, you know, because I focus on the rest of the world because it's interesting and it's fun and I get away and I see places I haven't seen. But hell, I mean, Yvonne and I bought back in December or November a vintage Land Cruiser in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and drove it all the way back to New Hampshire. And we wanted to do it for several reasons, but one was we're never going to go through that part of the country for any other reason. And it was awesome. We had a great adventure, and we saw stuff that we would never see otherwise. And, you know, you realize it shows you how vast the country is and how diverse it is. And it's like, I should do more of the hunting here. Like,
what's some of the stuff you saw?
Oh, my God. In the Midwest, you see just beautiful stuff and places you, like, understand why you've never been there and don't live there. One funny thing is, I don't know if it was in Minnesota or somewhere, some little town, they have, so the Jolly Green Giant, so they can a bunch of those green vegetables, I guess, in this town, and they had a 60-foot statue that is world famous, apparently, of the Jolly Green Giant. We have pictures from that. You know, some experiences, 2 or 3 nights we slept in truck stops just in the back of the Land Cruiser, and we'd like watch shows on the iPad and drink beers and fall asleep and get up and drive again. And that was super cool. Like the shit that we saw happen at truck stops in the parking lot at night. Oh my God. Like it's just a different world, man. But the Midwest, you know, and they were harvesting a bunch of stuff at the time. It's just beautiful, just land and small town America, you know, that I don't know that Yvonne had ever even really seen, you know, where I'd been exposed to, but you know, these towns where there's 300 people and, you know, you stop at the little cafe. Just seeing America, man.
You just stumble upon stuff.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, we went in South Dakota. We stopped and went on an elk hunt just because. And that was a great time. You know, I probably would never have seen Rushmore if it weren't for this trip, Mount Rushmore. Devil's Tower, which I think is in northeast Wyoming, maybe. Yeah, I think so. I didn't even know about, and it's just an incredible piece of nature to see. You know, it's just all fascinating to me. I love travel. I love the adventure, doing anything.
Yeah, I really love it out west. Haven't done too many small towns, but you know, got to do a little bit of everything in Colorado in 2019. Went to Alamosa, where the great sand dunes are, the Sand Dune National Park or whatever it's called, and got to see the Black Canyon of the Gunnison. There's super cool stuff out west. I mean, you know, there are things out west that aren't even a state park, but would be a national park. If it were here, it would be a national park. But over out there, you just drive past it. And,
I mean, you're right. It is so incredible. Like we went to Grand Teton and then Yellowstone and Devil's Tower, but then like through the Black Hills in the Badlands National Park. Holy shit, was that cool. And you're right, just so many beautiful things. I mean, I think Roosevelt was like, he picked up a bunch of stuff like Yellowstone, like, hell, we can't make the entire West a park, and so that's probably a good representation of a lot of that stuff. But,
yeah.
The U.S. is so big too, and I think most of the people, and I say most, a lot of people here just never get out of their own little bubble for whatever reason, whether they don't feel they have the opportunity to, or they just are never into it. But if you have the ability to just see the different parts of the U.S., you really should.
Oh, yeah, you went on a motorcycle trip out there.
Yeah, we were out there. You and I were out there at about the same time. I was south of you, but yeah, I did 5 states on a motorcycle and just camped the whole way. And it was, I mean,
Yeah.
I used to be stationed out there, so I was in Utah, so I was fairly familiar with the area. But
Oh, yeah.
but doing it on a motorcycle completely different.
Oh, yeah, riding around just the town you're from on a motorcycle is
Yeah.
different. It's a fun adventure. It's interesting. Like the Midwest, I love because hunting. Like I love whitetail deer hunting, and the Midwest has the biggest. And I love the people in the Midwest. And a couple of our engineers, Midwest farm kids, are fucking awesome people. Their families are, but other than that, it's flat, and you can grow a bunch of vegetation, and there's big deer, and people are good. But yeah, going out west, I think a lot of places people wouldn't even think about. And even great hunting, but seeing like Utah, holy shit, is Utah a beautiful place. And some of the best elk hunting there. They got great mule deer. I mean, it's a great destination to hunt. So is Colorado. There's parts of Nevada that are incredible. And, for me, a fascinating trip that I went on in the U.S. was I started in Tucson once, and I spent 2 weeks. And I think I maybe ended up the Grand Canyon or in Vegas maybe, but just going up through there and seeing the desert fascinated me when I was a kid from the East Coast, and I still love it. But starting like in the desert, and then you go up through there, and then going through the towns. I don't know if you've ever been there, but like Jerome and Sedona, and Jerome's a real like artsy town with lots of stuff in that. But Sedona, like Red Rocks, it's where they filmed a bunch of the John Wayne movies and stuff like that. And go on a biplane ride there. That's something you'll remember the rest of your life. And then, just going on up north there to, what's it starts with? Flagstaff,
yeah.
where all the skiing
you're
is so beautiful.
Yeah, you're at altitude. You think, like, I'm in Arizona, I'm in the desert, and then Flagstaff, you're just way up high.
Yeah, that's cool. Anyway.
Have you done the Moab area?
Yeah,
Utah?
so I actually, on this trip, I got stuck in Moab for 2 days because it snowed on both sides of us. But probably the best 4 days of my life, for sure, I spent in Moab back in 2015 or something, when I was in the military. Just camped out in the middle of the desert in an area that it's not set up for camping. And it was just, that whole area is unbelievable. And then, like we just talked about, doing it on a motorcycle is a completely different animal. Like being out in it, that whole area, that whole Canyonlands area is insane. If you've never been through it, it's insane.
Yeah, I was just dirt biking there in September.
Yep.
It was super cool at the Arches National Park and stuff. But right before the tyrannical lockdowns in late 2019, I actually got to go to Central Asia and do the Stan countries. So we started in Turkmenistan and went through Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and finished up in Kazakhstan.
So all the stands.
All the stands except for Afghanistan and Pakistan. And I didn't realize how different those countries are actually from one another. So Turkmenistan has the unique, has the unique award of being, I think, like the second most closed off country in the world to journalists, right after North Korea, or maybe third. It's like after North Korea and like Eritrea or something like that. And it's really hard to get a visa there. It's hard to travel there. You could only travel there as a tourist if you sign up with a tourist group, and these groups are, I'm sure they're government monitored. Yeah. And you go there, and it's really freaky. The capital is Ashgabat. It holds the Guinness World Record for the most amount of white marble in any city. And you go, and it's the cleanest city I've ever seen. Even people from Singapore apparently are freaked out by how clean it is. Not a single cigarette butt on the streets, not a single leaf even. And it's just all immaculate marble. And it's like, what's going on here? Like what? Right? And there's a cult of personality. There's this president there, Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, and he's like, I think he's been there for like 15 years or so. And There are no advertisements in this entire country. There are no billboards. Weird. The only billboards you see up are pictures of this guy, and he's
I'm in charge.
He's riding horses. He's driving trucks. He like races trucks. It shows him like with praying or whatever it is. But he's he's just such a character. And
did you see any guns or camo?
I mean, so. I have a border story there, actually, of getting stopped at the border for like several hours, and we actually almost got into some pretty big trouble. So, a very clean city.
Weed.
Take
weed.
It turns out there's a curfew there at 11 p.m. in the capital city, and it's simply a curfew.
And you found out the hard way.
Well, it wasn't that. I went out to the bars just to check it out, see what the bar scene is out there.
Find a rave.
But every other block has this little like guard station where there's police or whatever, like paramilitaries just stationed on every other block. And it did feel like the safest place I've ever been. I mean, it honestly felt safer than New York. It felt safer than any other U.S. city.
Safer than New York.
Yeah, safer than any European city I've been to. But at the same time, it was dude, every car in that country is white or silver. Like they just don't deviate from like the norms. You pass by universities, everyone is dressed the exact same.
Sounds like a weird movie set.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do that.
It looked like a socialist like utopia, like futurist utopia mixed with a little bit of like mainstream Islam in their architecture.
It's giving me anxiety.
Yeah,
I'm all good.
So we're at the border and we're crossing into Uzbekistan, and these guys come on our bus. They're wearing like 80s, 90s old Russian camo, that 2-color Berezka stuff with the leather belt and the leather boots. And they come in and they look at everyone's passport, and they look at mine. They just take my passport. They took my sister's passport, took my mother's passport, and got off the bus. And it was just us three. They took our passports.
They didn't tell you to come with them?
No, they just took our passports. And then they came back, and they gave it back to us. And they're like, yeah, you're going to have to go to the next spot and resolve this. And we're like, all right, whatever. We get ushered into this tiny room just crowded with like the local Uzbeks and Turkmens. These people, they just formed some space for us, tourists to go through. We go through to the next room, and there they confiscated our passports again. And what it turns out what happened was when we flew in, our flight arrived half an hour ahead of schedule. So when they stamped our visas, when we entered the country, it was 5 minutes before midnight. Our visas were technically expired because we overstayed it by like a day.
Right.
But that only happened because our flight landed early. And for that, we were fined $1,000 And
Each or total?
A total.
Yeah.
But we were there for
somebody's got to pay to clean that marble.
Like 6 to 8 hours. We were in this like little border station, and they escorted us upstairs, and we were speaking to this very serious looking man, the type of guy that just never smiles and just has these wide cheekbones, very austere looking guy. And the translator, the interpreter for our trip was the one mediating this, and he was telling us that the guy was saying, all right, so you have option 1, which is you pay the fine, you go into Uzbekistan, or option 2, you don't pay the fine and we deport you. And I'm thinking, yeah, look, we're trying to leave your country right now, so like, can you just deport us right there? And, my sister was all zealous and stuff. My mother, who grew up under communism, knew that it was not that simple. And
yeah, your hearing will be 8 Thursdays from 2028.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And so we were, I think it was like, can we hear more about the deportation option?
Yeah, you sit in this room for 3 years.
Right. And the interpreter, our tour guide, he just turned around. He kind of gave us this look like, yeah, again, you can either pay this fine or you'll get deported. And he kind of gave us this head shake. Yeah. My mother immediately understood that look. Yeah. And she was just like, all right, we'll pay the fine. You don't want to be
deported.
Basically, you just admitted guilt into being like a criminal in the state of Turkmenistan.
I've seen Midnight Express. Not trying to do that.
Yeah, not trying to do that.
Yeah.
So we had to pay cash, and then they counted the cash by hand. But even by then, they had left for dinner, so we had to wait even longer. and I'm just, I'm
and
just
then the
chilling.
extension on the visa expired.
Yeah.
You have
That's
to pay
crazy.
again.
It's
Oh,
so
well,
crazy.
man, I'm glad you made it out. I'm glad they didn't shoot you. I don't know. It would have made for a good story, though, since you're into, like, the industry now and camo and whatnot. But
Well, speaking of camo, like when we crossed into Uzbekistan, you had to walk like a quarter mile in between this border. It was all barbed wire and like, just really militarized. And as soon as you go to Uzbekistan, they went from looking like these Soviet dudes wearing Berezka camo to like American-looking helmets wearing UCP digital camo, but they're holding AKs. And the first thing you hear from them in English is, "Hi, welcome to Uzbekistan." And we're like, "Oh, okay." Oh, and yeah, by the way, most websites are blocked in Turkmenistan. So just that process of going to Uzbekistan, as soon as you're on the other side, you're like back on Facebook, you're back on social media, you're back on, you see ads. It's like a normal place.
So weird.
Yeah.
interesting. Well, man, thank you so much for coming out. Good luck with Qilo Tactical.
Thank you, man.
Let's do some collabs. I'm ready for some, what did we say, Q squared?
Q squared.
Sweaters, vest. What can we do?
Sweater vest.
Sweater vest.
Some jeggings, bro.
I don't even.
They're jean leggings.
Oh, I have some. Have some already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to see those.
Pretty sweet. It's they're spandex and they look like ripped jeans.
I didn't know that.
It's pretty fucking awesome. Yeah. So some kind of cool collab. Like I'm gonna need my own thing that Jay can't have one of.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Let's do something in the honey badger colors.
See, it's already working. It's already working. All right. By the time he is on his way home, he's gonna send us 8 ideas, Jay.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, man, it's been so good getting to know you. Again, appreciate what you're doing, bringing to the industry. It's something new, fresh, something cool, something that I'm excited about wearing. Oh my God.
Finally.
Good stuff to look at. That's not a bunch of average guns with average gun bunnies. Oof. Sick of that, man. So all right. So you're gonna go build a gun now?
Yeah, that's right.
It's great. All right. Well, until next time. So I'll be down for the Qilo Tactical podcast. Jay, you're not going.